Hello there everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I'm bringing you a 1v1 on Ardias Desert featuring a Force Commander and a Hive Tyrant. We've got Cris rocking the Hive Tyrant and Ardias rocking the Force Commander. Look, there's not enough Tyranid games, so I seen this one on the website. Went on for quite a while, features a Hive Tyrant. I said, sod it, I want a bit of that. Let's see what we can get. I'm going to be playing a little bit of 1v1s with Tyranids myself recently. I want to feel out how they're doing. You know, I don't play this game very often. I literally only just came back out of retirement, and that was for team games. But from what I can see, it looks to me that Tyranids are extremely underpowered and probably, along with Lord of Malleus, the worst races at the moment for 1v1 in the game. So I want to try that out myself, test it, and yeah, I'll put the POV videos on this YouTube channel eventually. If you guys do want to participate in any of those games, maybe I'll play some team games as well. I am doing some regular team games as well. Just join the Discord, so look in the description. There is a link for the community Discord, but there's also a link for my personal Discord. If you join my personal Discord, I'll be sending out pings for when I'm hosting lobbies and that kind of thing. Obviously, if you're on my personal Discord, I will give you priority over any pubs that join. Anyone that is going to join from a community Discord. But yeah, just something to look out for. Let's have a look at what's going in this game. Now, I think this is definitely a lower level game, but we'll see how things go. Definitely have a bit of education here. So straight away we notice that Cris has dropped the triple gens right at the start versus Ardias, who definitely hasn't. Cris drops triple gens and goes for the extended carapace armor. This is terrible. It's awful. So, this is looking really bad right from the start for Cris. Kind of surprising actually that he this game goes on so long given this opening, but hey, he does manage to snag a tactical space marine and even force off the scouts as well for the cost of 6 Hormiguns, which isn't too bad, but the problem is, because Cris has only gone for such a light initial tier 1, he's fighting against more squads from Ardias, so those scouts that whole time have been capping that side of the map. They get a nice little decap in his natural requisition to capture everything else on that side of the map before departing the area. And it's going to be a fast warrior for Cris. Now I would generally say there is really no reason to not go for triple gaunts at the start of the game. I would always be getting either triple Hormiguns or 1 Hormigon and 2 Termagants. There was no way you're ever going to win that fight against the FC without your double Termagants. I also find it very odd to rush the extended carapace as your first 4 gear. It's not that good of a generic upgrade. 1 HP per second regen, max HP 200. Now the max HP 200 is nice, but 1 HP per second regen is not great, and the charge, it's always nice to have a charge. But again, if the enemy doesn't have any devastators, it's of questionable utility. That said, he is also getting the Rending Talons, so I guess he just wanted to make his Hive Tyrant as tanky as possible in tier 1 and as much of a nuisance as he can. But yeah, I don't know if it's worth it. He needs to be tying up the tactical space marines right now. I don't know why he's chasing after the scouts when they're so fast. Lucky really to have not lost a warrior model, but I will say Cris is doing a nice job here with his warriors and his Hive Tyrants, his more tanky Tyranids, tanking fire, just taking up all the attention of the entire force of Ardias, whilst his gaunts just cap the map. And you know, this upgraded Hive Tyrant's putting in a whole lot of work right now. These tactical space marines need to be very careful with the Hormiguns flanking in. Leaping into position because of the synapse. Kind of having their pathing messed up. Hormiguns should jump on that power node. They do far higher DPS as a unit than the Hive Tyrant. Hive Tyrant should go down and capture the VP. That's what's happening. Termagants are being macroed over here. They're going to go take over this requisition point, I imagine. It'd take them too long to destroy that power node. It's not really worth it. And Ardias is just going to go straight to tier 2. Cris isn't that far behind, and Cris actually has a load of requisition, which is pretty nice because Tyranids do require a lot more requisition in tier 2 than they do power. Shotgun scouts probably get a bit more aggressive there, moving in a bit closer to do more damage, but It's fine, they force off the termagants after killing one of them. Very cowardly termagants. They got what they needed, they got the decap on the wreck, there was no point hanging around, I guess. Well, I suppose they could have forced the shotgun blast. Well, let's see how this plays out. I mean, you can already tell this is a low game because of the tiny size of the tier 1s. That says I don't necessarily disagree with going for fast techs on this map because it's one of the easiest maps to defend your natural gen farm. It is super natural on this map. So here it comes, the Razorback, the bane of all Tyranids right now. Tyranids lacking a long-range snare, the only snare that they do have access to, well, they have two technically. They have the Rippers, which do a very small snare, but it's not very reliable. You've also got your Electroshock Grubs from the 4x Swarm upgraded Warrior Broods. But the problem there is that they're very short range, like a Melter Bomb from the ASM, except Warriors can't fly. Well, no, in this game they can't. Double shotguns out now on the scouts, that will do something, but Warriors are a bit too tanky to be honest. Yeah, they just charge through, you need supporting fire. The Razorback's there, they can just hop inside the Razorback, be safe for a while. Oh, looks like there's a miss macro of the scouts there, do they actually wipe? They do, okay, that's a play. The Hormagaunts look like they're going to get out for free. Nice, okay, that's cool. Cris is floating insane amounts of requisition at this point. Uses his ability on the Rending Talons, does actually do damage over time in the area, and you can see that is actually hurting the scouts even when they're in the carousel, which is quite funny. And a Venom Brood's coming, so yeah. The thing is, the Venom Brood, it has better range than typical small arms, but it doesn't have as good range as the setup teams. But obviously that's fair enough, it doesn't set up. The problem is that the Venom Brood is slower than the Razorback, so generally it will get maybe one burst off, maybe if you're lucky 2 bursts off in the Razorback, but that won't kill it, and then the Razorback drives away, and you can never catch it, because your Venom Brood are too slow. So it's just really annoying, because then the Razorback's at the other side of the map, Plasma Gun Tactical Marines pop out, and your Tyranids just die so quick to the ranged firepower. By the time your Venom Brood gets over there, the Razorback's gone somewhere else, and it's killing your models elsewhere. It becomes quite a nightmare, and anytime you try and take a giant engagement, the Plasma Guns from the Tactical Marines just can bleed your Warrior Synapse models, and then you get Synaptic Backlash inflicting 10% of max HP as damage onto all of your army every time a model dies. Sad times. Now usually the other problem for the Venom Brood is it will just get jumped by ASM, but fortunately for Cris here, he doesn't actually have to face any ASM. In order to counter the ASM, you would typically get either Tyrant Guards or Gene Sealers, or both. You do see a Tyrant Guard coming out right now, but that is going to be itself countered by the Dreadnought that's coming out for Ardias. But Dreadnoughts are a lot easier to kill than Razorbacks because they're so slow and they have to get up close in order to do damage. So you can snare it with that Electroshock Grub very easily when it goes into melee to try and deal with the Tyrant Guard. Meanwhile, the Venom Brood can actually chase the Dreadnought, they're just as fast as it. So the Dreadnought, yeah, I mean, this should be a lot easier for Cris to deal with. And the other beautiful thing for Cris is he is playing as the Hive Tyrant. You see, he actually gets a really nice flank there. This is how you're meant to be using the 4x Swarm Warrior Broods. You're meant to use things like Capillary Towers to buff the speed of your Nids, get some really nice flanks, and snare them with the Melter Bomb. But for some reason he didn't use the Electroshock Grub, which I find quite odd. Venom Brood unfortunately getting tied up by the Force Commander, so they're not really able to do a whole lot right now. But Tyrant Guard will be able to, but it might be a little bit too late because, yep, the Razorback's just going to scoot out of there. This is the eternal problem. That said, if Cris had the Venom Cannon on the Hive Tyrant, this Razorback would have been dead a long time ago. And I also find it so strange that Cris didn't use the Electroshock Grub there on that Razorback. It should definitely have been dead. And I think with that Razorback dead, he would be able to handle this Dreadnought quite easily. So we're getting some more Hormagaunts. I mean, he is floating wreck, so that's not a bad idea. They can bash quite quickly, and they just go around capping the map. That is basically how he's using his Hormagaunts. I think you should be having your gaunts in the main engagements. They're not bad fighters at all, in fact. For their cost, they have very good damage, and for their pop, they have the highest damage per pop of any unit in the game. And that only gets amplified further when you start adding in melee and ranged synapse as well. We'll see. I'd like to see some capillary towers coming out for Cris. Definitely a mistake not to be dropping them all over the place. I've not seen him really use many globals at all. We've had no brood nests drop down. Tyrant Guard here taking a bit of a questionable fight, 1v1ing up against Dreadnought. No, it's okay, the Venom Brood are getting supporting shots in there, but here he comes, the Force Commander with his Thunderhammer. Warrior Brood needs to move forward and get the Electroshock grub off. I don't know what they're doing. Venom Brood at this point should just be forcing melee onto the Dreadnought so that they get their fire on the move shots with their Venom Cannons as they move in. And one of the best uses of the Tyrant Guard here, specifically against the Force Commander, is the fact that the Thunderhammer, it can knock over Gene Stealers and it can knock over your entire infantry army, but it can't knock over the Tyrant Guard. Tyrant Guard making a massive mistake there. Instead of charging, he should have just gone into shield wall. Will the Plasma Gun get a shot? Are they running into melee? Oh, he didn't. But I don't think he has the energy for shield wall now. Yeah, he's going to go down. A very bold play, and a bad one at that. There's no AV on the field, so if he just went into shield wall, he would have been totally fine. Hive Tyrant's pretty good against the Force Commander as well. So yeah, generally when you get your big army versus army fights and you're fighting that Force Commander with a Thunderhammer, you keep your Tyrant Guard back and you use him to counter-initiate the Force Commander. You can also use the Hive Tyrant for that as well. So hit him with the Crippling Poison so that he can't move, and suddenly the Tyrant Guard will be hitting him really quickly, outpouring a lot of DPS, and the Force Commander can actually die quite easily in those situations. Not to mention it completely shuts down his Thunderhammer play. If you don't do that, it can be a problem, because he literally will be knocking over your entire army with that Thunderhammer. Omgon's clearly mismicroed here, should not be fighting a Force Commander. Not going to go well for him. I mean, just feeding him XP really. Very shocked to have not seen a single Electroshock grub yet. Cris really doesn't like using his gaunts in combat, does he? God. No upgrades on them? Madness. Cris, if you're watching this, or if any of you guys do know Cris, please do tell him to watch these casts. If you are watching it, Cris, check out my Tyranid POV gameplay from a few years back. The meta hasn't changed that much, the same principles all still apply. You definitely want to be using your gaunts in engagements. As annoying as it is that you have to rely on such shitty units to fight, they actually are pretty damn good because they're so cheap to reinforce, they're so low on pop cost, and they scale really well due to synapse. Not using the Termagants does lead to problems when you're dealing with tanky single entities, that's for sure. Especially when you lose your Tyrant Guard. As you can see here, the Warrior Brood is doing quite a good job actually suppressing the Force Commander, tying him up, but it doesn't matter, there's no follow-up. That Barb Strangler doesn't really do any damage to him because he's a single entity and the Barb Strangler relies on splash damage for its DPS. So that Force Commander just trudges on through and forces off both the Venom Brood and the Warrior Brood. And I wonder what Ardias is going to actually go for in tier 3. Seems to be taking his time. Seems to have been pushed back quite well by Cris actually. I feel like the last time I checked, the VPs were favouring Ardias, not Cris, but now it's the other way around, and you know, map control definitely has been going in favour of Cris as of late. These gaunts have been working absolute overtime. Because somehow Cris managed to get out his Gene Stealers and then get to tier 3 in the same time that it took Ardias just to get to tier 3. There's no follow up yet. Now, Predators are really good against Tyranids for the same reasons that the transports are really good. I mean, it's literally the same chassis, right? But the problem is they actually struggle against Venom Cannon Carnifexes. Venom Cannon Carnifexes are the ultimate transport tank killers. But normally what happens is you start bullying the Tyranids so hard in tier 2 that you can get to tier 3 first. You get a Predator, and a Predator versus a tier 2 Tyranid is basically unstoppable, especially if you've got Plasma Gun and you've got ASM to deal with a Venom, right? But that isn't the case here. In fact, Cris is slowly accumulating the resources to get a Carnifex himself, and then once that comes out, hopefully he'll go for a Venom Cannon and be able to deal with this Predator. But we'll see, maybe he'll buy something else before that happens. Victor or something. Obviously would be a pretty huge mistake. He did pick up the Crushing Claws and the Hive Tyrant, it would appear. So he's got a lot of heavy melee tools right now. He's got the Rending Claws on the Gene Stealers as well. Okay, the Gene Stealers are finally coming out of infiltration, going to charge in now into the Tactical Marines who get inside the Razorback. There is an explosive shot to knock them away, and the Razorback soft retreats out of there. Force Commander is putting in a lot of work, disrupting Hormagaunts, killing Warrior Broods. The Predator tank is out, went straight away down to Chris's natural VP for some reason, but has rotated back into the middle, and the charge of the Space Marine vehicles is now in play, routing the bulk of the Tyranid force. Now this could be a bit of a questionable situation. Are we finally going to see the Electroshock Grub going in? Is he going to do it? What is he doing? Why is he not using that ability, man? Especially when you've got so much heavy melee, that ability is going to be so useful. Slowing down that enemy vehicle and stopping it from firing for a few seconds. Really nice when you've got a load of heavy melee to try and rip it to pieces. So he's going for a second Venom Brood in tier 3. This is awful. It's really bad. If Ardias just goes for Assault Terminators now, you are like totally screwed. Even just ASM, make him into Vanguard, it's gonna mess you up. But you know, this is a low level game, so Ardias probably isn't gonna do that. Already we see he's going for a second Scout, which it's not really necessary, to be honest. There shouldn't be that much pressure onto the vehicles. Just keep the Venom Broods tied up in melee, keep shooting them with your plasma guns, you know. The best choice here for Cris was certainly getting a Venom Cannon Carnifex. Especially when you consider that Ardias' only AV on the field is the tank. Okay, Orbital Bombardment coming in. What's it going to hit? Slightly overextended Hormagaunts. Probably going to have to retreat through the Orbital, which will kill them. These Termagants here will also get wiped out. Yeah, so these Hormagaunts don't want to retreat. Well, they do retreat now. Wow, looks like they might actually evade this final Orbital. Hilarious. So the Orbital Bombardment killed... Oh my god, it didn't even kill all the Termagants. What the heck? 2 of them survived. That was awful. They didn't even kill Gaunt Squad, and these are all unupgraded Gaunts. But okay, the Termagants get taken out anyway by the Predator, and the Force Commander teleports in with its combo. Wombo combo with that hammer forces off the Tyranid forces. It's still a 2-to-1 cap for our Ardias. I wonder if these Gene Stealers are going to make their way over to the point to cap. Razorback could interrupt them. Razorback is already level 4. This is strange players. What's going on? Has he just quit? Or is he sacrificing them? Why would he do that? I don't understand. Just mindlessly running the Hormagaunts forward to the mid VP. I found that very odd. Please tell me he hasn't disconnected. This is one of the things I hate with casting replays where someone hasn't actually sent them in. It's like, is someone actually going to disconnect in the middle of the game, and that's why the game goes on so long. I think that was just some sort of lapse of judgment. Maybe he felt like they weren't doing much, but I don't know, it doesn't make sense. You had them at 2 models, just keep them at 2 models and capture side points with them. You know, a unit that's at 2 models out there only costs 25% of the upkeep, but it still caps at 100% speed, you know? Obviously it's not going to be good in combat, but if you only want it for capping, then who cares? A lot of pressure on the Razorback here from the double Venom Broods. Definitely needs to get some support coming over, but the FC's here to handle it. Here he goes, boom, boom, boom. Disrupting the Venom Brood. Looks like he did actually get some final shots off from the Venom Brood, taking out that Razorback. Predator's still alive, and that is the main threat. Finally, we see a Carnifex on Ardias. Genie Stealer's going for the decap now onto Ardias' natural. Shotgun Scouts are going to try and do something about it, but they're firing from way too far away. Need to get closer. Need to disrupt those Genie Stealers. They're going to stop the cap, and they're going to be a decap, and now the pressure's on for Cris. He really needs to get onto the VPs. I don't know why he doesn't own his own VP. I guess the Predator was down that side of the map at some point. Just get something over there quickly. Now looking at under 100 VPs left for Cris, and 184 for Ardias. Warriors and Venom Brood coming back out into the mid, but they've only got like half HP. I guess the pressure is on, so he felt he needed to bring them out quickly, but just look at this. No, Venom Brood do decent damage, but when they're only half HP, the Predator's just going to outshoot them. Certainly when the Force Commander teleports in there like that, it's going to be brutal. Now they can be repaired by the Scouts. And yeah, no time for the Warriors to cap. But they got the decap, which is valuable, I guess. It keeps them in the game. Venom Brood is going to cap down there. What's the Carnifex doing? Oh wow, he's going for a melee Carnifex. That is a huge mistake. It appears to me that Cris is far too confident in the melee prowess here of the Tyranids. And don't get me wrong, Tyranids obviously, they are great in melee, and if you just try to scrap with them, they'll beat pretty much everyone. The problem is people will not scrap with you in melee, because why should they? They know they're going to get wrecked in melee, they're not going to do it. They're going to kite you. Carnifex is too slow. If the Predator is microed correctly, the Predator will always be able to just kite the Carnifex and shoot it to death. Now yes, you can say that the enemy can mess up. They can get it blocked on their own units, they can send it down areas where it can't path around terrain, they can try and move it back and it spins around and shows its rear armor. Yes, these are all things that can happen, and in that sense heavy melee can take out a tank, but the problem is that those plays rely on your opponent fucking up, basically. You are putting the ball in their hands. You don't want that. You want to be on the offense. You want to be able to be in a position where you can make a play that forces you to win the game. Not in a situation where you're just sort of drifting by, praying the enemy makes a mistake. Here we go, we now see the last cannon upgrade coming out of the Predator. That is going to put a lot of hurt onto that Carnifex. Granted, the Venom Brood are here to support at the moment. Plasmadea's getting a terrible overshoot there. A nice special attack from the Carnifex, putting in a lot of damage onto those tactical marines, getting out of 4 models somehow. How does it happen, guys? 250 HP in 4 models and level 3 tactical space marines. Double repairs going down right now onto the Predator. So greedy, charging into the base with Carnifex, and it's just going to get wiped out by the Predator. Crazy. I just don't understand. Why would you do that? Madness. Why would you do it? Now, that play would make sense if the VPs were reversed and Ardias only had 20 VPs, but there's plenty of time still for Ardias to get out of here and actually cap the map. There's a lot of red for Cris, so you can delay a cap with his Tyrannoformation global. He also has the without number global, which does knockback when the spores drop in. Then it spawns a Termagant and a Homogon squad. That could be useful for delaying the caps. It looks like Cris is just going all in right now, trying to delay his enemy, but there's too many VPs, brother. Over 100 VPs, that's a lot of VPs. I don't think you can just be delaying forever. He has got some sneaky Gene Stealers guarding the point over here. Ardias really needs to move something down, capture this VP. Some of the scouts should be going down there, one to support the Pred. Oh my god, we've seen it, the Electroshock Grub, can you believe it? Maybe Cris doesn't play Tyranids very often. We didn't know that they had that ability. Yeah, VPs are moving down, but not enough time. I mean, Ardias does need to cap a point. I don't really know what it's doing. Just forget healing, get the scouts out of here. And Force Commander right now should just forget about the Gene Stealers, just teleport forward and... Ah, okay. Alright, no worries. He's just called in some Terminators, I think it's all good. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way he should lose this point. I mean, move the Predator down to the mid. Oh, it's covered by the P-Devs too? Yeah, that's rough. This is going to be brutal, guys. You know what happens when that sound starts? Anxiety. Dead Venom Brood. And that's going to be a wrap. That is going to be a wrap. Yeah, Cris throws in the towel, knows he can't take back that VP, not enough time. So yeah, a bit of a lower level game there, guys, but I know you guys appreciate some of the lower level games. You can see some of the mistakes that people make. It makes it seem very real, right? You know, this is probably what some of your games look a bit more like. But there you have it, that's the match. No Venom can fix. Good luck killing a Predator. It's going to be real tough. And remember, yes, they can make mistakes. Yes, you can kill it with melee when they make those mistakes. But you want the ball to be in your possession, not in their possession. You don't want to be relying on them having to make mistakes to win the game. You want to make the game whether they play perfectly or whether they don't. That is all from your boy Torpid. If you enjoy the content, please leave a like on the video and a comment down below. That will help this video be seen by more people. Keep getting those views and ensure that these videos keep coming out. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Have a good day. Torpid out.